My name's John Tershak. I'm an oceanographer by training, and I joined the Holderness Fishing Industry Group about 6 or 7 years ago now. And I brought a different perspective to the group, being a physical oceanographer. My job is to look at how the abiotic factors affect the coastal marine environment that supports Bridlington's lobster fishery. So we're looking at tides and currents and light levels, how weather and storms affect the habitat and the ecosystem for the very important lobster and crab species that come over the rail here in Bridlington. So Bridlington and the Holderness Coast is the lobster capital of Europe. We land more lobster here than anywhere else in Europe. And for that reason, we have a very important industry that supports a good number of families in our area. And one of the things that they have to do is ensure that their livelihoods are protected. And these fishermen are actually very good stewards of the marine environment. And part of my job is to see how we can help them protect their industry for generations to come. And we've launched this initiative to look at how ghost fishing and lost fishing gear has an impact on not just the environment, but also their livelihoods. So lost fishing gear costs our fishermen money because they have to replace that gear. Now, that also has an impact on the environment as well. As fishing gear developed over the years, they needed materials that were not going to fall apart just through regular usage, so that meant using more synthetic components. So metal cages, rubber edging, polypropylene netting, that type of stuff has been gone into constructing new pots. What that also means is because it's man-made, it's persistent. And as they break down in the marine environment, one, it's going to take a long time, but two, it also sheds microplastics and other components that may not be the best for the marine environment. And so recovering those, bringing those out of the sea is an important part of what our mission is. What this does is it allows fishermen to mend and reuse those pots instead of buying brand new ones. Hopefully those financial resources that would have went to replacing gear can now be used to go back to crew wages or better amenities on the boat to make life aboard a bit more comfortable for the fishermen who work in all sorts of conditions. For the environment, it means reducing the amount of man-made materials entering, including microplastics, and therefore a healthier ecosystem, which in the end is better for everyone. It's really important that people get behind this because it has a wide impact. It's not just the fishing industry that ghost fishing and lost fishing gear impacts. And so we really do rely upon a wider audience to help us with our mission of curbing the global problem locally. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to curb a global problem at the local and regional level. And for us, what that means is taking time out of our research schedule for our research boat to go out and help the fishermen gather better intel about where their gear, their reported gear that they've lost occurs. For the most part, our fishermen try not to lose gear. It's very, very expensive, so they put an awful lot of effort into tracking it down and retrieving it. And there are those instances where gear has shifted and they're just not aware of how far it's shifted. And so for us to go out and provide this intelligence using a sonar provides them new information where they can then go out and retrieve their gear. Now for us, that costs us money. We have to spend time doing our research aboard the vessel, and diverting the vessel for other purposes means that we have to find funding to pay for the cruise time, for paying for the diesel, the insurance on the vessel, etc. So those costs, those overheads stack up. And what we're looking to do is we're just looking to cover the costs. We're not making any profit on it. We're just looking to cover the costs of running the boat for the day with the sole purpose of finding lost fishing gear using the sonar. So the sonar that we're using is actually the University of Hull's. It's our regional HEI, and it's the Energy and Environment Institute and their equipment that allows us to participate in looking for lost fishing gear. Unfortunately, that piece of equipment has a lot of other jobs and it's scheduled all over the world. Right now it's scheduled to go to Canada, which means we have to cut short our missions right now in order to accommodate their generous schedule. Now, if we had our own sonar head, then that would eliminate that conflict with us trying to deliver this service year-round. So monies that we're raising is not just to operate the boat to go look for fishing gear, but also to acquire our own sonar head, which will then allow us to do this work. The ramifications of ghost fishing. We don't really know a lot about it, not scientifically, right? We know that lost fishing gear causes mortality amongst not just commercially viable species, but also species that provide what's known as ecosystem services. So we're talking about animals that eat detritus or burrow into the mud to oxygenate it. So we have an impact on those. And we just don't know the extent of what lost fishing gear, especially within the potting sector, has upon the ecosystem. So for us, we like to look at the financial impacts, and that's to the fishermen. But when you talk about financial impacts, you have to look at other sectors. You know, if lost fishing gear causes a loss of these animals that provide vital ecosystem services, maybe it causes problems with water quality or the beaches or something like that, and all of a sudden now the tourist industry is starting to be hurt by it. We just don't know how far the reach is, and so a lot of our work is going to be towards looking at the far-reaching impacts of it, not just the environmental, but also the economic impacts to a variety of sectors, not just ours, not just the fishing. So whenever you see any material from us, please feel free to share it with friends and relatives and other interested parties. And of course, as always, like, comment, and share.